Welcome to another lovely leadership conversation between Monwara Ali, myself, and Lorlett Hudson. So, just a quick intro. Thank you to those who are joining us, and for those of you who will catch up later, you can access this on our my YouTube channel as well. Really appreciate you being here, and any feedback that you give us, any learnings, any tips, any questions you have for future live shows. So we're here on Saturdays. Our leadership conversation focuses on everything around leadership, and we believe anything is leadership. And so, myself, I'm Monwara Ali. I'm a coach, consultant, and a CEO in a charity. I actually also am part of a international development program. So we do this every Saturday because we enjoy sharing knowledge and learning from each other. And it's wonderful that Lorlett joins me from all the way in Jamaica, and I am in London. And something we always say is possible. So over to you, Lorlett.
Hello, everyone. Such a pleasure to be here. I know that each one of you listening, you could have been anywhere, but you choose to be here with us. So we really appreciate that. I have a passion for leadership because I think leadership is everything. I've been a leadership coach for the last 24 years. I wake up one morning and I realize that very few people have conversation about being a leader and what it takes to be a leader. And I got really inspired to start running leadership programs with young people in schools to enable them to understand what leadership is about. Leadership is everything. And if you don't see yourself as a leader, that can make a difference. Leaders is the one who drives initiatives, drive the vision, make things happen. That's what we do. We don't sit on the sideline looking in. We're not spectators. We make things happen. That's why we call trailblazers. That's who we are. Trailblazers, kicking down those doors, making things happen, taking ourselves on, and bringing other people with us. Monwara came to me and she said, we having a conversation around, I think it was connection. And we had a conversation and she said, yeah, well, why don't we do a conversation live on LinkedIn? And, I was really inspired by her and what she's doing, her trailblazing attitude, her way of being. And, it's important who we surround ourselves with. And, being with her, I learn a lot. And it also keeps me motivated. So I hope each one of you who are listening, you're motivated by us. And, take yourself on and your bold vision. Leadership for me is everything. It's not anything else apart from taking yourself on and making a difference. So over back to you, Monwara. Thank you.
Such a wonderful way of starting today, Lorlett. And I have to say as well, like, I take so much back from our conversations. You always have throw in nuggets that when I'm re-listening to our conversation, it's making me reflect and think, we are, after all, human. And I think leadership is a very challenging thing. And neither one of us will make it sound as though it's easy. It's very challenging. But I think if we have our minds open to that continuous learning, people teach us all the time, every conversation we have. I mean, the trouble is that a lot of the times in the charity sector, for example, the non-profit world, where we're trying to make a big difference, we don't usually make the time to reflect, and that can be quite challenging, because learning at our greatest opportunity usually happens when we reflect. I learned today, upon reflection, that I should have said something yesterday when I was talking to somebody. And it made me reflect on my own behavior, and it made me wonder, okay, is that like, okay, that's me and the way I come across? I need to do something about that. So I'm going to look for an opportunity to fix what I've discovered through my own reflective practice. So, Lorlett, Lorlett, what has been exciting in your world in Jamaica? And I can see the trees in behind you.
In the background, yeah.
Yes,
What's
beautiful.
been really interesting is I've got this property that I bought, and I'm really designing it, and I call it peaceful living because, I think the way how the world is going, there's so many challenges, and it's a space for leaders to come and to look at their vision, where they're going next. So all the trees and all the spaces, it's all about relaxation, it's about peacefulness, it's around, being able to have that space. Because I think, we're busy, 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 busy. And, how do we really make a difference if you don't stop? Like with Jim Monwara, I always see you walking in the parks or having conversation in some serene places. And it's like, yeah, now I know why you get so much stuff done. It's because you sit there and relax. I see you all the time, and it's true. People tend to think, oh, it doesn't seem like, she's working hard. But it's not about working hard, it's strategically, isn't it? Making sure you take care of yourself, making sure you take care of your family. It's getting all your priorities right. And one of the biggest things that I have come across is, you know, the more senior you become in your leadership role, it's the more you say no to certain things. You say more and more no than you actually say yes. And when you do say yes to something, something strategically is going to push you forward and help you to grow, and yes, so that's the space I'm creating. So, leaders come, they relax, it's a vision quest, and give them the opportunity to really and truly um, grow. And there is a lady, I can't remember her name, she's a leadership consultant as well. I can't think of her name right now, but she said leadership, is like a garden. And it's true, you got different plants, different things in it, and it's the same as with people. They're all different. And with your plants as well, I didn't realize that you can get in, you can really fall in love with a plant. I picked up this small little plant and it looked like it was on the verge of dying. And, I repotted it and been watering it. And now it's really flourishing. So every time I pass it, I thought, oh my goodness, this plant look amazing. Just imagine if that was an individual that I met and really want nurturing and mentoring and coaching to get to the next level. Same as that plant, the same way flourishing, in that sense. And, it feels like a sense of fulfillment in that sense. I didn't really take much notice of gardening before, but now when I clean a space, you actually feel a different energy, lightness in that sense, which really say, yeah, leadership is like, nurturing a garden. Over to you, Manwara.
That's a beautiful analogy, and I love it because, being a gardener myself, I'm not a gardener per se. I think my husband does all the hardcore stuff, to be honest. But I do get, the years I don't plant like vegetables. I love it, but I don't because I know I don't have the time for nurturing. And nature teaches us, and it's the same in a business setting. You could have the best diverse group, but if they don't feel nurtured, they're not going to flourish. So businesses have to think about putting systems in place and the right people to manage so that the nurturing is there in place. Unfortunately, I mean, in the years before, I've been on training which made me question whether nurturing was a poor quality in a leader. But actually, the more The more we learn about ourselves, the more confident we become, the more we're able to lead others. Because learning that nurturing is actually a strength changed my comfortability with the difference. And I'll explain that because I know sometimes I do talk like I'm riddles. But, until you know how some of your what others perceive as your weakness or your gaps are actually can be a strength, you cannot utilize it. So me being a nurturer and what you said about the garden, so many differences, is such nature giving us a clue around the differences we are within businesses and workplaces, right? Now it takes a nurturer, and it takes somebody who is perhaps quite has deep understanding based on their looking inside themselves, on I guess learning that there is lived experience that I have, right? When we discover we have lived experience that will help in that environment to understand people, those are the kind of people you need in your team,
Mm.
because those are the people that will have extreme resilience. And again, that comes with time, but also I think often it's missing when there isn't reflective practice and people are afraid to embrace the uncomfortability. So, I've seen a lot of leaders that I've even coached over the years and mentored, where they don't want to work with a particular individual because they're too much hard work, right? And I think that boils down to obviously perception, right? That individual is thinking that person's hard work, but the individual needs to question their own perception, and we're growing all the time. What used to be my perception 5 years ago is not the same anymore. But
Mm.
a lot of people in those management roles will say that person's too much hard work, I can't. But then they're not looking in to see what is it that they need to change to be inclusive and help that individual. Yeah, the thing is, whatever your personality is, someone who is completely the opposite to you is always going to look hard work. But if we give up as leaders, then how will we ever make any change? How will we, like, there's a lot of talk around, people not fitting in because they're from black or ethnic minority background, women not feeling in certain environments that they are fitting in because the environments don't cater for their needs, people with disability, people with, I know neurodiversity is another one. There are differences that we're surrounded around in every institution and in every family home. So we can't. It's very, very easy to dismiss and walk away. And I think when someone taps into their nurturing strength, that's when they are the ones who don't give up. And your story about the young children, the young boys you worked with, were they not the kind of boys that most people would walk away from?
Well, yes, and the reality is, there is a saying. I can't remember who wrote it. That how you see people is how you respond to them. So if you see people as not being good enough or not non-achievers, and we do, we got our conscious unconscious biasness. We made decisions about people based on what we think we know about them, and not take the time out to actually find out the real people, who they are. And if you say somebody is not going to get anywhere based on your perception and how you see them, then that's how they show up. What you focus on is what you get. So if you believe the people that are around you are not in your class or community or whatever it is, and you don't have anything in common with them, because as human beings we make decisions based on that. What have I got in common with this person? You never know. I mean, I've met people And, first of all, they said, oh, well, like, for example, my proverbs, my things mama used to say, my Jamaican proverbs, my grandmother wisdom, I use them in my coaching. And I think, some people from different backgrounds would say, I have nothing in common with you based on that. But they're all life experiences. We all want to strengthen our leadership. We all want to strengthen how we think. And I think when you have wisdom, it strengthens you, especially your culture. I feel very empowered as a Jamaican immigrant, because I feel to myself, my Jamaicanness, that's what makes me. And, it gives me strength. And my grandmother words give me strength. And it's that lived experience as well. And, I can assure you, everybody's got some cultural sayings that they use, so it's not just Jamaican, it's everyone. And it's that inclusion is recognizing a sense of belonging. It's teaching people to value what is really theirs, their culture, their heritage, value what is really yours. Because when you take on other people's culture, sometimes you don't fit into it because it's not yours. Own what is really yours and being proud of it, whether it's your costume, whether it's your food, whether it's your saying, your language, or whatever it is, embrace it because that's what makes you you. Can't be anybody else. You have to be you in that sense. And, everyone's saying, come to work or show up your authentic self. What does that mean in that sense? You have to understand what makes you you and hold on to that. I can assure you when Monwara is cooking her traditional meals and she's there eating it with her friends and family in a community settings, that feeds her. That makes her feel good about herself. I think food, we talked about that a few weeks back, how important food is and how it connects people. Food is a social thing, and we eat with our eyes. Actually looking at it and understanding, yes, yes, you look at it and you think, yeah, I remember that. It's like plantain. You look at it and you think, oh, yes, I remember planting as a child growing up. There's certain things that really inspires you and inspire me and understanding the importance of our culture and hold on to it and preserve it because without it, I think, you lost, there's a sense of belonging. And as a leader, you are the one who drives the culture. You're the one who says, this is how we do things here. And, it's driven by your values, and your value is I appreciate people keeping their words. I appreciate people turning up on time. I appreciate people committed to what they say they're going to do and really speak that in existence in everything I do, and you speak in existence and people get to understand this is who you are and this is what you're about. And whatever you do, be it, show up as it, be it, do it, and then you'll have it in that sense. So, yeah, that whole thing around culture, we have to embrace it. And if we don't hold on to what is really ours, then we step into other people and it's not ours, if that makes sense. Back to you, Monwara.
That was so powerful. I'm going to have to take that somewhere, either include it in my book or somewhere, Lorlett, because that was extremely powerful. And I will highly recommend anybody listening just that last 1 minute where Lorlett talked about why, if you are not leaning into or embracing your own lived experience, you may not fit in. And I think that is such a huge barrier in the diversity and inclusion space. I hope Dudley is listening. And yes, I think we all, anyone working in that space, will argue that or completely agree with you in terms of the need for food and how food is such an important part of demonstrating culture and identity. And on top of that, so the powerful thing, you're going to have to re-listen, Lorelette. I'm not going to be able to put it in your words, but you put it in such a good way. What I've discovered in the past couple of weeks is sometimes when you're in diverse spaces and you mention lived experience, if somebody's identity or lived experience isn't similar, or I feel like certain people want try very hard to demonstrate that they have lived experience, but actually what we're trying to do in that diversity space is the lived experience of diversity. And if you are not culturally diverse, then you I found people who are not culturally diverse trying to make an effort to fit into that conversation by sharing their own lived experience, which might have no relevance to culture at all. And I embrace that too. But I think that's where the contradiction lies, because if you're in a group and you have 4 or 5 individuals in that team who are culturally very diverse, and you are not, instead of feeling like, oh, I'm an imposter in this situation, I need to come up with an example of my lived experience, it's best to enable them to talk, because there's so much you can learn from those individuals' lived experience that you won't learn or be able to teach anyone else in that group. And then what happens is accidentally you disempower those individuals.
True, true. Yeah, and there's that thing, isn't it? It's my way or the highway. So it's really understanding what can you learn. I've got an environment with my things Mama used to say, Proverbs cards, and people at first probably look at it and think, oh, it has nothing to do with me,
Mm.
until I said, okay, pick a card and look at an area of your life right now where it's not working, and I guarantee you there's some wisdom there that will enable you to move forward. You might be feeling a bit stuck, and one of the card is, when beggar beg from beggar him never get rich. And what that actually mean is, who you surround yourself with is absolutely important. And the reason why I created the cards, I want to see the equivalent. I want people to see that there is an equivalent. So in personal development arena, it would say who you surround yourself with is really important. In Jamaican community, we would say, when beggar beg from beggar, I never get rich. It's very metaphorical. So it's really understanding that the people you're associating with, are they allowing you to grow? Are you expanding? Are you evolving? What is it that you're actually learning? Because if you're not learning, then you're dying, and you're not growing, then you're dying. Just like a plant, if it's not growing, you have to keep on watering it, keep on nurturing it to make sure. And it's the same as the people you're associated with. Are they putting you down, or they criticizing you? They're not really buying into your vision. Because sometimes you go to certain people and you would say, I have this aspiration to do this, and they will give you all sorts of reasons why it's not possible. And if you don't have, again, grandma's wisdom to
Mm.
say, take yourself on, don't listen to what anyone say. You've got to have that inner strength to actually recognize that whatever anyone say to you, you don't necessarily have to listen to them. You can listen, but you don't have to take their advice. And also, there's also something else about, look at who you take advice from. What have they accomplished in their lives? Because some people will always tell you, you can't do it. And the reason why they tell you can't do it is because they themselves haven't done it. And if they haven't done it, then how are they going to encourage you to go ahead and do something that they've never done? So we need to be really mindful of who we're taking advice from.
Mm.
Over to you, Monwara.
No, hot tip. Who do you listen? Be very, very careful about who you're listening to and who you're allowing to influence your thinking and, in some ways, your vision. Because you just pointed out, Lorlett, that confidence is such a big issue, and I think many people. don't realize they've climbed so many mountains in their lifetime. And yet, and I'm using that as an analogy as well. And yet, they are afraid to step forward, because that's the other thing. If anybody asked me to define leadership, I would say forward movement. Right? That's what leadership is. If I had to describe it in 2 words. And if you're not moving forward, like you said, you're dying. So and I had this very interesting conversation often with a lot of young people, and they say, oh, but I don't have confidence, I'm not very experienced in XYZ. And it's, I don't often say, but like, I'm dealing with adults in their 40s, 50s, 60s who are saying exactly the same thing. You cannot gain confidence until you've done that thing, and until you've climbed that mountain, because it's only when you are at the top of the mountain that you really discover, oh, I got here, how did I get here? And then that reflection piece needs to happen. How did I get here? What was my thinking process before? And that's why, like, the mountain climb, I'm doing next week, Lorlett. So for anyone who isn't aware, I'm traveling to Austria with a group of lovely ladies who are going to be climbing Schafberg, a mountain, an amazing scenic mountain in Austria. We're actually feeling ambitious. We might do more than one mountain, but we're going to be there for 4 days. Traveling there on Tuesday, coming back on Saturday morning. And Lole, you're excited. You're going to be there in spirit.
Of course, definitely. I'm coming to the next one.
Yay! Yay! But like, listen, for those who are listening, and nothing I share with the team that we're going with is ever going to be like new news. So they know I've climbed Snowdon. They know I've done a 5K rough runner in the past. They know there's lots of mountains that I've climbed that they have no idea. And that's like more personal. However, when I did Ben Nevis last year, I only got halfway, but the rest of the or majority of the team did get to the top. Ben Nevis was a monster, and I'm hoping the Austria mountain won't be as challenging, but it will still be a mountain. And I think what, as a trailblazer, gives me joy, Lola, I had to bring it back to being a trailblazer and trailblazing leadership, is being able to take others on that journey. And have we never pluck up the courage or utilize the strength that we have, then we may never do this kind of thing, and then nothing changes. And I know by climbing the mountain, we're going to raise funds and we're going to transform the lives of women living thousands and miles away in a country where even the people in the surrounding communities are not there to help them. Can you imagine the impact? 6 women or 7 women from the UK and Austria are climbing a mountain to raise funds to build an institute where women can learn how to become financially independent. And by having that impact, and it's not just 6 or 7 people having the impact. Every single person donating to the cause is part of that impact. So not only do I want to be blessed, I want everybody with me to share those blessings. And it is a huge blessing, because if when people donate, even if it's 2 pounds even, right? It is a way for them to be part of that cause. The trouble is the vision is not clear. So we right now, when we're fundraising, nobody has any idea that the institute will happen. But I know it will happen, because I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I know that I have teams of people around me who have the same kind of attitude. And actually, they also believe in the vision. So Bangladesh retreat is coming soon.
Nice, nice, nice. You know, that thing about passionate about learning. And you shared something during the week around you don't know what you don't know. And it's all about knowledge. It's all about that awareness. You know, you can be walking around great at what you do and not even aware of what you actually do because you don't know how to capitalize in it, you don't know how to leverage it. And when you look at so many people who's got talents and they never get recognized because they themselves don't know how to push it, don't know how to have the conversation. You know, I've sat on so many interview panels, and you know, sometimes when you ask the questions, you know, you want to really stand up and shake them and say, you know, say it loud. You know, I am this, I did this, I'm able to, I'm capable to. You know, yes, I can make a difference. You know, I remember one young lady I was coaching, and she was going for a job, and I said, yeah, told him, you know, I want to come here and work. And what support are you going to give me to really make sure I grow as a leader? You know, in 5 years' time, how do you want to see me? You know, what the expectations you're looking for. And, you know, she said they were sitting at the panel and just looking at her as if to say, my goodness, you know, where's this dynamo come from? Yes, I want to come and work here. What are you going to do to support me in order to get there? And what are you looking for in terms of my commitment for the next 5 years? What's your vision? You know, what's your aspiration for me? And, you know, she said, oh my goodness, you know, they were just asking her. I said, yeah, I wasn't born this way. I wasn't born this way. It's experience. As you got older, you start to really tap into that lived experience and utilize it. Unfortunately, many of us, we're not in the same environment where you are nurtured to actually talk about your lived experience. You know, ageism is a big thing where, you know, people don't value people's age and the experience that they've got. And I think it's important, you know, as a leader to tap into who've done it before. You know, what have they done? What have they caused? And, you know, have series of people, you know, from the beginner, the middle, and the end in terms of understanding. That's why it's important. Community is important for me because the elderly, they've been there, they lived it, they've walked parts that I have never been. And so they can guide me in that sense. And a young person coming up can show me about technology. There's so much stuff around technology I don't have a clue in that sense. And the middle bit, it's around still trying to figure it out, you know, trying to figure out where do I go in that sense. So it's important to really understand that everybody add value, everybody contributes, and no one's get left behind. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, wholly 100% behind what you just said. It's knowledge is never, I mean, we are never the same. Evolution teaches us, right? How do we, but you made a point as well, like, and I think I would add to it in this way that not everyone in every space is going to be able to add the best value. So no, and I say this because just
Monwara, sorry, I'm laughing. But you know, every experience is an experience, right? Yeah. So even though that person might be toxic, I mean, that's the word that people use. I'm not too clear what that means, really, to be quite honest. You know, there's a lot attached to that word toxic. And, you know, in every obstacle, there's an opportunity. And sometimes, you know, people bring different things, different values, different way of being. And it's up to you, the leader, to recognize that you're not in alignment. The word is alignment. You're not in alignment with that person. They will go somewhere else and they will thrive, but they're probably not going to thrive in your environment because the values are different, the cultures are different, you know. So nurture them and say goodbye to them, love them from afar.
You know, it's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I hear you, and it is about letting go, isn't it, at leadership level? Because you have to know at what point you can be, and it's not about anybody else. That letting go is about being content with yourself, because we are always measuring and judging ourselves, and that judgment is about, okay, have I done enough? Have I done enough? Is my conscience clear? And I think we have to remind ourselves as leaders, there's a time when you have to make a tough decision, and you're not always going to be right, but you have to make a tough decision when you're called to make one. And at that time, you've got to be clear with your conscience. I've done enough. And I think this is where it can drag with, if you're not aware of your own nurturing ability, that you could become, it can weigh you down, basically. And then you don't make decisions that need to be made in that moment.
Mm, mm. That's true. Sometimes it's hard as well. Something isn't working. It takes courage. It takes courage to actually say it's not working. And also recognizing that you're not in alignment with someone in that sense, because we're all different. Our upbringing is different. Our way of being is different. I mean, even children from the same family have taken on their own characteristics, and understand just because you're from the same family doesn't mean that you think alike or your values are the same, even though you come from same parents. People choose who they want to be in that sense. And we have to understand that if it's not working, because we know when something isn't working, but for whatever reason, sometimes we hope things will change. We spend a lot of time hoping that things will change. What they say, it's take a long time to recruit, but quickly, you know, um, ask somebody to leave. Take as long as you want. There's some interview processes that you could go for about 8, 9, 10 different stages. And I like that because it's giving you the opportunity to really get to know the person. And after all that, if that's not working, then quickly replace them with somebody else. And that's not always easy.
No, it isn't. I mean, it takes skill and resilience on the part of a leader to get the most out of a diverse group. We all want to perceive or define toxicity, and it's going to be different for everyone. But I think even what is appears as toxic can sometimes work. It depend. I think everything depends on who's in charge.
Mm,
Because if that the leader in that situation is someone who can understand
mm,
and can make a breakthrough to that individual. For me, it's if I can encourage somebody to be self-aware, and encourage them to, I think what I'm trying to say is introspection and reflection. If there's any way that I can enable that, then I know that it will be easier. But it's a very long journey. And I have had to make tough decisions in the past because it could take too long, and it could cause a lot more damage. And I say that personal experience. I think my biggest business lessons are from my life experience. My family members, there were toxic members that I thought I could help. And for years and years, when everyone else was washing their hands off, I was still trying. And when I did come to the hard decision, very, very tough decision for me, because I'm not the giving up type. I think that's the other danger. If you if life has taught you to be extremely resilient, it's hard to let go because you think, okay, could I be the person that the good Lord wants to completely transform or have some sort of impact on that individual? Could I be? Because I sometimes wonder, like, why me? And I think, what if I am the only person? But then I've been in situations where I thought I could help and I realized I couldn't. So those are the lived experiences for me at leadership level, without going into too much detail, where, you know, then years later it's taught me to make those decisions very quickly instead of trying too hard, because the ripple effect and the impact is going to be far greater.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes I think it's that nurturing side, isn't it?
Mm,
That you really want to nurture the situation. And if you're a natural nurturer, you don't want to give up. You want to say, what if, what if, I'm able to even give in one bit of information that will enable that person to recognize what they're doing isn't working in that sense. And yeah, you want to try. I mean, you're not just going to, well, oh, give up on someone. Because, I mean, there are times when I've had my challenges and there's been people who have been there, really holding my corner. And I'm glad that, yes, there might have been a breakdown in terms of what I'm doing, especially running a business. There are aspects of it when you feel, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? I might as well give up. And it could be, business is business, and it's not an easy route, to take, especially when you're creating something that's never been done before. You're the one that's out there, you're the first one, and you're getting all the naysayers saying it's not working, it's not working, it's not going to
mm,
work.
mm,
There are people who still hold me together in that sense. Yeah, keep going, keep going, keep going. And if those people had given up on me, then I wouldn't be where I am today. So sometimes it's about understanding, where is that individual. Sometimes people just want a space to go out there and mess up, and then they know, like Monwara, go and mess up and go back to Monwara and say, "Oh, this is what's happening." And she said, "Yeah, yeah, you hold space for people to go and mess up and come back, and
mm.
that's it."
Yeah, and I think a lot of leaders like myself actually do that. Maybe we just don't share it and say it out openly, but I think that's when leadership inspires, because people want to learn from you. People want to learn from people who are willing to admit their own mistakes. But also, if when you admit your own mistake, same way when you share your lived experience, that is when you're giving permission to others to say it's okay. And that's why in some spaces I do share my lived experience, but I find that when I do share my lived experience, other people get uncomfortable. And I've been told a couple of times in the last week that that's not the way to do it, indirectly, that I mustn't share my lived experience, because when I do that, it's too personal. And I thought to myself, I've been doing it for 30 years, mate. You don't know what I've been doing, but just watch me. It works. It works. It works. You know, if I'm going live on LinkedIn, or, I mean, I apologize, by the way. Your screen is flicking a little bit, Lorlett.
I know, I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know what.
Yeah, we've carried on because we've been in the flow, but
Yeah,
you know, we're not going to go on for an hour today. But there is a little bit of internet difficulty today, so if you're still listening and watching, apologies from both of us. But yeah, I had to make that point, Lorelei. But I also want to touch on what you said around the people that hold space for you, and that's so important in leadership. And I think what would be nice is for us, maybe in the next few minutes before we wrap up, is you know, delve into gratitude. And I will start it in the sense that I know we are, because we are mountain climbing next week, many of our friends and families are donating to the cause. The cause is building an institute in Bangladesh for women to become financially independent. And a lot of the information's on the Just Giving link, and I'll put it on the comments too. You can read the background, the story behind what we're trying to achieve. But I just want to use the opportunity to talk about gratitude because trailblazers don't do what they do because they are fantastic or they think they know it all. They do it because they know there's a huge community that's going to come forward to support them. And that's my little bit on gratitude, because it is because of your donations, it is because of the wonderful affirmation, the comments, and the feedback you're giving to Catherine, Kate, Veronica, Rifa, myself, Shahina, all these individuals that are on this mountain climb. Huge gratitude to them, but most importantly to their family and friends. And I think total strangers as well. Sometimes, when you get the odd comment I get on my YouTube channel or on my LinkedIn, from a total stranger is so uplifting. So I just want to say huge gratitude from me. Thank you. Over to you, Lorlett. And you're going to end it, by the way.
Yeah, I just think that whole thing around gratitude, it's amazing. The people in our lives, opportunities that comes, because as you said, you're on a journey. You started out not where you are now, and it has been a journey, and the things that you've accomplished and still continue to be a commitment. Imagine what it's going to be like for those ladies when they have a center that they can actually go to learn and develop their capacity, and gain economic freedom in that sense. That's a great attitude, gratitude, to really, and appreciation, to think that you are able to have that level of impact on people's lives, transform the quality of lives of people. And it's because of your skills, it's because of your talents, it's because of your vision, and understand that, because there's so many people that could be sitting around today and just moaning about the situation, but you're actually taking it on to say, what can I do to make a difference? And you're actually demonstrating climbing a mountain, which even those ladies is climbing a mountain themselves, to learn and to develop and to get those skills to make sure they can look after their families effectively. That's a mountain itself. Because, they have to look at their own confidence. They have to look at their own courage. They have to look at their own leadership as well. They have to look at themselves and do the work on themselves as well. Because, if you've never had something and something presented to you, there's two ways you can say, who am I? Because that whole thing around deserving as well, that's a mountain. Because, to be able to say, I deserve to be here, I deserve to learn, I deserve to have an education, I deserve to earn the money I want, I deserve to use my skills and have the opportunity to do that. Yeah, so that whole thing around appreciation and gratitude is a big thing, because, it comes up in so many different ways. And if you live a life of gratitude, just about walking in the garden, you can see from the window that the sun's coming through slowly, and it's about being able to, appreciate the weather as well. Even though, as I said, the internet's playing up, but the sheer fact is, I'm still being able to talk to you all the way from Jamaica and share with you, that so making that difference with our skills and our vision and our talents, and I wish you all the best for next week, and hear all about this story. I won't be here with you there physically, but I will be there in thinking, cheering you on. and say, go on, in that sense. I think it's a bold vision, to really have an idea. And, with ideas, there are thousands of them that happen every minute, every second. But it's the execution that makes a difference, the commitment, that makes a difference. And for that, I honor you. I appreciate you for doing that because, you climbing that mountain makes me realize what's possible for me and others.
Oh, Lorlett, so lovely. And I'm going to take that with me into the weekend. Very heartwarming, your message for listeners. I think it's very important that I also acknowledge the fact that it's a Saturday. It's very early in the morning in Jamaica. We just saw the sunrise during this conversation, and what a wonderful sight. I've been watching behind your window. Let's just hope that the next time we're here, the internet's going to be better. But
Mm.
hey, these are the challenges we face as leaders, yet we continue to make a difference in this world. I have to say that we won't be here next Saturday because I will be traveling back from Austria then with aches and pains. Yes.
Are no aches or
Yes.
pain. Are no
and
aches or pain.
and those who've been on a mountain climb with me before will say, Monwara, why do you keep going, putting yourself through that pain? I just love it. I just love it. But it's not about me. It's about the entire group and the ultimate mission and what we achieve at the end of it. So, Lorlett, I am extremely grateful for you for giving up your Saturdays because you could have been anywhere else. You could have been like in bed or lazing around in that wonderful garden that you are nurturing for your visitors, your retreat. And who knows, I'm there in spirit as well with you. Think of me and think of my giggly smile if you miss me. But yeah, it's lovely to have these conversations, and thank you very much.
Thank you. And, for those leaders who are listening, participants who are listening, I thank you. I appreciate you. And, keep learning, keep on growing, because that's the only way we make the difference. And keep expanding that vision of yours. Don't play small, play big. I mean, Monroe is climbing a mountain. Can you imagine? That's no small feat, that's a massive thing. And I always said, I had a mentor that said, you know, play a game you can't win. I mean, I was confused at one time. I used to say, why are you telling me to go and play a game I can't win? And he goes, well, if you know how to win it, then it's not really challenging. Go and play something that you can't win. You just can't win it. And you just have to keep on growing into it, because when you play the game, it's not about winning, it's who you get to be in the process. It's who you get to become in the process. You learn so much about yourself, courage, commitment, not giving up, and understand that. So it's not so much about the game, it's about who do you get to become, like Monwara. Who are you going to become once you climb that mountain? What's going to be the next thing in that sense?
It'll be another mountain, but can I let a little secret out? So I've written my first book,
Brilliant, brilliant.
and so you can actually buy the book straight away if you want. It's only out on Kindle so far, but this is the book before the book.
Okay, what's the title?
Beyond Boundaries, female leadership in non-profits, in the
Wow,
non-profit world.
wow, wow, wow.
So I'm
Well,
going
you
to
might
leave
end up you'll end up selling million copies, and
Oh,
the
Lord.
proceeds from that will go towards your learning center, because you never know. I mean, when I started with the cards, I had no idea, and I sold about 24,000 copies, and something that wasn't going to happen by so many people. It's about pushing it and you realize that when you're passionate about something, you give other people access to themselves as well, and they become passionate about it. So you have to be it now, Manuel. You have to become passionate about your book. Tell everyone about it. Share about it,
I
and
will.
then
I will. I'm just so excited about the mountain. It's just because they both coincide. But yeah, I'm very excited about the book. And I think, many people have their reasons for writing a book. I have said this before. I feel like whatever I am, when I leave from this universe, I take it with me. So I want to share whatever I have learned through my life's tribulations or through my work, my professional life, my personal life. I want to be able to share that because of exactly the reason what you just said earlier. People, I am a sucker for knowledge. And I think people are also very open to learning once they hear from people like myself, you and I, sharing these things, our bold vision and how we made it happen. And, you know, nothing phases me. And one of my colleagues says, "Oh my gosh, Monwara is like, you make me scared." And I said, "In what way?" Because I really don't think there's anything that's impossible. You can make it happen. You may not be able to reach the top of Ben Nevis, but how would you know unless you try?
mm, mm. It's true. It's true. You never know until you know. That's
Yeah.
the reality of it.
We don't know what we don't know. We don't know what we don't know.
And I always, when anyone come to me for coaching around self-confidence, I said, think of a time when you couldn't tie your shoelace, as a child, and you struggle with it. And it's the same as learning to drive a car. The first time when you get into the car and the driving instructor said, look in the mirror, left, right, back, front, and you're thinking to yourself, how do you expect me to concentrate on changing the gear, looking through the mirror, doing this? There's so many things to think about. But then it just come together one day and it was just like, oh my goodness, simple, isn't it?
Mhm.
On that
Thank
note,
you.
thank you for being here, and I look forward to our next call, which is not next week because I've got a forum that I'm running for leaders to really look at their skills and the capacity, and really know the art of your craft. I think it's important. If it's one thing you're good at and you recognize that's your strength, play to it. You don't have to be everything to everybody, just that one thing. As Monwara, she's a trailblazer. And so everything that she does is in the context of that. With me, it's really about innovation. I love to innovate and create. If it's not there, I'll find a way to put it there in that sense. So, yeah, go and climb your mountain, Monwara, and look forward to seeing you when you return.
Yeah. Have a great Saturday, everyone.
Exactly. Have a good one. Go and climb your own mountains. Take care.